Hey everyone, Mr. Simmer here. So welcome back to second episode on Farmers Only Club. So I'm here on server 9. This is Heartland Springs, which I just found out talking to the FM that I'm helping out is a map specific to FOC that is done basically based on No Man's Land, because when you look at the overlay map, I was like, this is kind of what it reminds me of, and that's what it is. So I'm helping them out by plowing the field. So they wanted me to start on the east side, so I am doing that. I better make sure that there is no field creation. Actually, it doesn't look, so maybe they don't even allow that. Because, yeah, I just want to make sure that maybe I can't do that. Alright, it looks like we're okay. Thank goodness, because otherwise I'd be creating a mess here. Alright, so we're heading over. They are over there spraying. I think they're fertilizing, they said. So it looks like they had lime down, and they're fixing that up. So I think this is just a big rectangle. I was going to say square, but I'm thinking they just maximize every inch they can. And, you know, obviously I did specifically ask them, you know, let them know that I'd be recording here, so they said that would be fine. It's just their farm is big, and then they said it's messy. I don't know that I'd say it's messy. There's stuff around, but I mean, maybe I'm not at the farm location, so maybe when we go do something there. So let me explain kind of where I got to and where I was at. So obviously, well, not obviously, because it's another episode and it's days later on the channel, but this is the same day. So it's the same day I made the first episode. It's just just after lunch, like early afternoon in the world, in real time. So I've been off the servers for, I don't know, 6 hours. But when I came back in, I was looking for player contracts, and I ran into my first snafu. So just kind of so you understand how things worked. So if you're looking or considering FOC as something you want to look into to do your farming simulator stuff, so you can understand how things worked here. So there's a questions channel on the Discord. They were asked when we post something on there, you know, search and see if maybe the question's already there. And so I was looking for being a farmhand, perhaps, because there were no player contracts that I could work on. So the only player contract that existed did seem like something really monstrous, because it basically was like, hey, I've got these 3 fields on the server, you know, and I think it said it was like 100 or 200 acres, according to the info on the contract, and they were looking to have things fertilized, and then eventually herbicide spread, and then move a bunch of cotton bales. So it sounded like it was something that might take days, but it was the only player contract out there at this point anymore, because I finished the work I needed to do for Judd in the morning, and obviously, you know, that was its own little problem with no contracts. So I'm not speaking clearly because I'm trying to pay attention. So let me just shut up and let me finish this. Alright, the other thing I want to check. Alright, so we are here. Alright, so nobody owns 10. So you can see there's a couple, I guess, different orange folks out there. So, you know, because there's some red. I'm not quite sure if it's just not done drawing or whatever, but I'm on an orange farm. I know that. But I just wanted to make sure. I mean, even though this field is clear, you know, it looks like maybe they're turning around here as well, but I just wanted to make sure I'm not running down anybody's crop. I didn't quite get all the way to the edge there, so I'm gonna have to clean that up when I come back in, or come back up. So I'll do that once I return. Because what I may do, I was gonna maybe run over across like they had done a headland across the bottom, but I might get in their way, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do what I need to with this, since it looks like I can turn around, where I think, yeah, because it looks like they own 41, but 41 is just grass right now. So maybe they're expanding. I don't really have any info. I just met them, so I guess let me go back to the process then. So I see there's no player contract, and I know in FSN at least we had the option at sometimes to help people out as farmhands. So the question I was looking for is, hey, I'm here, I've got some time this afternoon to do some work, I'd love to make some money. Can I find some people to be farmhands for? Can I advertise that, hey, I'm looking for work, so forth, and or is there a way to help out on something that looks like a giant contract, but if I do that, like, should I contact the FM through DM and see, like, hey, are they willing to have multiple people work, or what? So I got an answer pretty quickly, and on top of it, I had someone direct message me, which is someone named Ray Jin. So you can see here in our chat, Ray Jin. So that's whose farm I'm working on. And so they said, hey, you know, I've got some work on my server if you want some. And so they kind of were like, well, what kind of work do you prefer? We did this in Discord, so you're not seeing it in this chat here. You know, I'm pretty open to whatever, especially if I'm working for someone. You know, I'm the mature simmer after all. I you know, came up in the working world before it is the way it is today, and so my parents trained me, like, you know, a man's paying you to do a job, just do whatever the job is. I mean, obviously you can turn the job down, but if you're willing to work, just be willing to work. So that's kind of how I approach this. In the end, even the things I don't like, because I was half debating, like, saying, well, if you want me to do rock picking or something, I kind of don't like that. But in the end, as I was thinking about it, like, I wouldn't do rock picking on my own fields, probably, because I'd be like, you know what, I'll just let the damage go, or, you know, I'd pick periodically or something. I don't know. Because I did see, I think, yeah, there at this, when I loaded my plow, I did get some rock to come up, but honestly, it looks pretty good for anything else that has happened. So, of course, I was wondering if that was gonna do exactly that, and it did, because I guess I wasn't quite lined up yet when I turned. So let's see, this should get me moved over. Obviously this equipment is a little bit in the way for a quick wide turn, or a good wide turn. There's nothing quick about it when you got a bulky tractor like this, but so anyway, so ooh, I'm gonna have the same problem, so I am gonna go through this. So anyway, what my thought was, you know what, if they need me to do rock picking, like, who cares? I'm getting paid by the hour. If I don't like doing it, you know, I'm still getting paid to do it, so I'll take the work regardless. And you know, if I had the opportunity, maybe if that's what they wanted, I'd be like, well, if you like to do it, as you know, and there's 3 jobs available, but we didn't get to that, and we'll see. I don't see a rock picker laying around, so maybe they don't do a lot of rock picking here. Let me see if I can see the situation. So I'm also wondering, ooh, it doesn't look like they do, I didn't realize they don't have precision farming, which is okay. I mean, we'll just have to do what we do, but you know, or I wonder if there's certain places that have it and certain ones that don't. But if not, I've certainly played without precision farming, and again, that's okay. So it's probably a question I'll ask, that's for sure. But yeah, so Ray reached out, we connected very quickly, and then here I am. And so I kind of started jumping in and just getting you guys up to speed. Oh, looks like he's spending money on something. I don't know. I'm assuming he's filling that harvester, so there you go, 20,000 miscellaneous. So I'm assuming those funds were for some supplies or something. I guess I can see, is he, because he's not in here. Oh, I see, he was over there. Oh, maybe he was just fueling up, or, oh, I see, he's bringing something. So yeah, it's possible. Maybe he's just got this giant man truck with fertilizer. So he might have liquid fert. So I'm trying to see. Wow, there's just a lot of stuff. This is all his. So now I see what he's saying. The farm's a little messy, but it's alright. You know, people can run their operation the way they run it. Who knows? When I do my FM thing, oh, we got some more rock up here. So let me see. Anyway, because I was trying to look and then I couldn't tell. So if I'm here, and there we go, stones. So yeah, there's small bits here and there, but it's certainly, the map doesn't appear to be insane with the stones, so that's always a good thing. Doesn't appear to be a lot of roads on this map, so I guess, you know, as long as people aren't driving through someone's fields, I suppose they can go wherever. So part of what's always fun being a contractor in a new environment is kind of what I'm doing, you know, right now, right here, which is experiencing maps I've not been on. So there are definitely maps within this community that I've not heard of. So maybe they're all maps that are created for the community. I don't know. Like I said, I mean, there's some I've certainly heard of, like Hobo's Hollow and so forth, that I talked about, but as I work things, it'll give me the option to see. And so when you're trying to make a selection of where to live as an FM, obviously there's a couple things you need to think about. One, and the primary one probably, I would say, is the location of the server. Is it in the US or is it in Europe? So that will certainly go into it. I'm obviously going to try to jump on a US server so that I have better times. So you can see the truck's leaving there. So yes, he absolutely was coming by to fill up that implement, but I'm thinking he had to do that. He had to buy some stuff. And again, I'm not familiar with how that all works here, other than I know the one FM that I was working with the other day let me know that there's commands they can do to, if they have silos for supply, that just put things in. So I don't know if that was doing some sort of bot command that was moving over herbicide into his farm, and then he just picked that up and did it, or if he was actually at some sort of a sell point with that and then went ahead and put it in. Alright, so he's back in the thing. I don't know where he put the truck. Obviously he didn't get over that far, but I'm assuming it's just sitting at the end of the field. Oh, there it is. Like, I'm heading right toward it. So I thought there were only 2 pieces of equipment over here when I came by, but maybe that was one of them. Like, once again, I'm going to have to learn what equipment is around and things like that. But definitely lots of options. Let me see. Can I... Oh, you can't hide the interface here either. So sometimes for screenshots in FSN, I would do that. So we're going to have screenshots with stuff on them, which is fine. It is what it is. So no, it looks like that's a third item down there. So that truck moved over from the farm. So, I mean, whether this particular John Deere is something that we had on FSN and that we used in this plow or whatever, I don't know. Doesn't really matter. I mean, you have what's available, and I know there's a bunch of things, and it'll be the joy of the same type of calculations that I did when I built my farm in FSN is just do the working with calculation, do my acreage, and go from there. So, so my personal impressions is this is not a map I would likely make my home. As anyone who's watched the channel knows, for the things that I'm going to spend a lot of time on, I tend to like more hillier maps if I can. And I enjoy, you know, I'm not looking for crazy shape, but there's not probably as much excitement for me of just working a bunch of squares, which certainly is what they have here. You're not able to combine fields. That's a similar rule for what we had in FSN. That would just be, I think, a server load thing that exists in Farming Simulator. So, you know, even though he owns, I'm going to assume it's a he because it's Ray Jin, so I'm going to say Ray's normally a he. So I apologize, Ray, if you watch this later and you're not, but anyway, you know, but you couldn't like make this a big field, where in single player you can, but in a multiplayer environment you can't. So as far as like server stability stuff, like logically, obviously a lot of things that we have to worry about and had to worry about in FSN are similar here. So, but obviously, as you can tell, obviously he's moving much faster than I am. He just vanished. You can see the white going, but he was on there for a split second. So if you want to verify he was really there, you can back up the video a little bit. But I promise you he's there. But I'm assuming I can just plow this field and he'd probably be happy to just let me do it. And right now I think that's, you know, obviously what I'll do. So I have that to work on, but yeah, this wouldn't be a server that I would probably call home. So what that turns into in the reality, you know, and there is, you know, I guess this would be a downside of FOC versus FSN. There's certainly less servers here. As you saw on the server page, there's 34. And I don't know if they're split equally, but when you look at the layout, you know, there's only so many servers in the US, and they try to put servers, it looks like, in 3 regions. So they have servers, I think, in Australia, in that Anzac region, and then, or Anza region, really, is probably what it would, is the proper term. And then over in Europe, I think, I don't know, they have a flag. I'm unfortunately terrible with some of the flags. It's not one I entirely recognize, but it might be Denmark or something. That's sticking in my head, but I could be entirely wrong. And then they have servers in the US. So I don't know if it's literally a third, and a third. So in essence, we have 11 servers in the US. But that also obviously means, you know, there's only so many different maps you can go to and things you can work on and so forth. So, which is fine. I need a map. I don't need a ton of maps. And, you know, so, but if you're looking for variety and looking for, you know, tons of options, FSN has more options. I will not contest that. It's just not necessarily options. I think there's the downside of a lot of options is you have a lot of servers there that have 1 or 2 people on them, and what I have found is there's not a lot of activity on those servers then. So you know, the ability to kind of work with someone or whatever is not always the greatest thing. So I'm obviously going to keep this up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to share. And yeah, I can go into like a little bit of what I've been thinking of, because you know, now that I've made the choice and I'm moving on, you know, trying to think about, okay, what does this mean for me at this point, and how is this going to play out? Certainly the first thing I get, and part of, I think, what was ultimately part of my decision as well, it was not unclear to anyone that has watched the last few episodes of either Generational Farming or the FSN series that I was struggling to keep up with the work across both of those operations. I'm not a big farm person on stuff normally. Certainly I'm not opposed to that. You know, if I had a farm and I could get, you know, 5 or 6 players that wanted to work it regularly and we really could cover it, that's okay. And the thing is here, I've not seen any kind of indication of things that kind of impact the ability. You know, there's not something that shows, which I think is why you have large holdings for everybody. Like, if people want to own half the map or whatever, they can, and they may not work the whole map. But there's not like a penalty if you're doing that. Your money's just there, and it just gives you something to do. But you know, certainly there was a little bit of thought of, well, I'm going to have a lot more I'm going to have a lot more control over my time, especially right now without being able to be an FM. Like, there are going to be times I'm going to want to play and I'm not going to be able to, because I'm not going to have any work that I can find. But I'm also pretty assertive in letting people know that, hey, I'm available. And so that's partially what I was doing, is being the new person here, really in my kind of second real day, but first real day where I was officially doing things as what I would consider a full-fledged member. Because really, before I gave the first video, like the work I had done for Judd, obviously I didn't record that. It was just kind of, you know, testing out and seeing what was going to happen. And at that point, I honestly hadn't committed to myself yet that I was making the change. But as I thought about things throughout the day, when night came around, I kind of, you know, that was what I did before I went to bed that evening, was close myself out on the other side, sell everything off, and send in my ticket to kind of be nice about it, you know, because I do think I've certainly seen, I think I've had FMs on servers that I was the mayor of, the sponsor of. They don't use the term mayor here, they use server commissioner. But there's not specific responsibilities that I can see that come with that, like there were for a bit in FSN. Again, we don't have the whole feature of, hey, plow the fields before they come up for auction, this, that, whatever, clear the snow, do snow plow contracts, stuff like that. I don't think that exists over here in FOC. But, you know, so I did that last night, and then this morning, you know, you saw the first episode a couple days ago, and now I'm just trying to be active because that was my goal. So what I don't think I was very clear on in the first episode, part of why I just went ahead and said, you know what, I'm pulling the trigger now, because we're coming up on a holiday here in the US, and just the way it works out, I've got a great opportunity where we actually get Monday and Tuesday off from work, and so I've got, in essence, a 4-day weekend. You know, there will be some activities, going to see family and whatever for the holiday and so forth, but I don't normally just play 15 hours a day or something anyway. I mean, it's usually a few hours here and there. So otherwise I'm doing stuff with the family, or, you know, I am trying to keep the schedule clear this weekend just to kind of really be like, yep, you know, I'm just relaxing. My wife had asked, hey, the backyard's getting kind of long. Maybe mow it before it rains. I'm like, no, I'm gonna wait, you know, until after it rains, sometime in the middle of the week, and I'll quickly do it then. I'm just really trying to kind of treat this as a holiday weekend, and if I can avoid doing any kind of work, I'm gonna do that. So it's just really trying to relax and have some fun. But I was like, you know, I've got 4 pieces of 4 days here right in front of me where I won't have work, you know, things that I have to do as well, and therefore even less time during the week or something. This would be a perfect time to start to learn and get to know folks in the community and whatever. And so that was a big part of why I was like, you know what, this is probably a terrific time to just finally stop procrastinating and do it. And I will be upfront, and I will thank some of the folks that I was talking to yesterday. You know, again, I've enjoyed things in FSN. You know, I've enjoyed my time there. I think there's a lot of good things there. And so as I was chatting with people, I'm like, you know, it's just, I'm not sure I want to change. I'm not sure I want to go. And it really got to the point where, you know, some of them, it got pretty clear, like, I really was kind of attached a little bit more than, you know, it made sense to be. Like, it's a game. And, you know, someone was like, you know, you're not, like, getting a divorce or something. Like, you're making, you know, like, just decide what you want to do. Like, they could tell it was way more stress than it should have been for something like this. But the reality ended up being the things that I kept convincing myself, and why I kept kind of overlooking what was making me unhappy and so forth there, was some of the uniqueness and so forth. Again, there are a lot of servers, there are a lot of maps, there's the generational farming that I'm partaking in and so forth, or had been partaking in. So I need to go fully past tents, because you know, I'm off of there. Everything's sold, everything's gone. I've put in the thing. Like, my intent is, unless they need me to come back and do something in my server, but I can't imagine they would. Like, I'm not doing anything over there. I mean, I've left the mods on my system for now. I almost this morning was like, hey, I'm done with FSN. Let me free up the gigs and gigs of space that the mods take. And you know, because right now, obviously, I've got the FOC mods and the FSN mods on my computer, and so that's a lot of farming simulator mods that are sitting around, aside from the stuff I have for the VIP series and whatever. But what I started to realize, even as I was speaking with them and explaining, but this, but that, but, you know, I took some retrospection and self-awareness and said, you know what, I'm convincing myself there's more there than there is. And the disappointments I've had in the past, and the red flags I'm feeling. I talked about, for example, in the first episode, the fact that we're already floating outside the confines of what generational farming was going to be. And for me, those have been red flags of things where we've had events or things going on that then kind of went south, and had a lot of promise in the beginning, and you know, I think I used the term in the first episode, the new shiny object. It just seems to be that is kind of how leadership does things. It's like, it's all in for whatever the newest idea is, And then once that initial enthusiasm wanes and another new idea comes along, the other idea that was hot suddenly just it loses focus. And the multitasking thing I closed with in episode 1 is I think very real for a community like that. You can't do everything. Doing everything means you do nothing well. You do a lot of things mediocre. And you know, those are conversations I've had with folks there, and I've been kind of told, you know, shut up and go back to your corner, frankly. And you know, they're feeling they need to do all of that and whatever. To me, that was what ruined the community. There's just not enough. There's too many things going on, and nothing is done well. So that's my concern. Is I'm frankly not even sure generational farming will finish. It's either going to die out under its own lack of focus, and you're going to have more and more people leave. I was pretty clear in the last few episodes there. I think after we were allowed on after the revamp, I think that ended up being a mistake for the decisions they made. There was a week or two that we couldn't get on the server, and then when we got on, I never saw another soul on my server again where it was at least somewhat active before. And I think it's those kind of things that just cause things to fizzle out. And again, I'm sharing this, I suppose, if someone's watching it from the other thing, maybe they can learn. You know, think of it like an exit interview, and at a company, and you know, why are you leaving? What didn't work? You know, what had seen was a lot of evidence of it was never something that leadership is doing that's a problem. It's players not understanding what the community is or what we're trying to do here. I think that's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot. And that's fine. People can have their vision, they can have their fantasy and dream, but they need to understand, if they're bringing other people along in that fantasy and dream, that those people have feelings and desires of things to happen too. And at the end of the day, going back to the opportunity cost thing I talked about, you know, I'm on this field and I'm helping Rage in right now. That means I'm not doing anything else. This is what I'm doing. So everything else I could have spent time on is not happening. The lawn's not getting mowed, for example, as I just shared with you. Like it or not, you can try to pretend and live in a fantasy. Those things happen in a multiplayer community as well. Whatever choice leadership chooses to focus on means they're not focusing in that second on anything else. They're focusing on that thing. And so when there's codathons going on, when there's whatever happening, yeah, if you want whatever's being worked on, that one item that's being worked on that minute, that second, that hour, that's great for you. And then as soon as the focus shifts to something that you're not interested in, then it doesn't help you at all. And sure, it's a community, we're a community, and we don't always get everything we want every minute. You know, we're adults, we understand that's how the world works. But we also then as adults assess, like, if 90% of the time what's being done is something that I have no interest in, those are the things that were starting to give me pause and say, like, why am I hanging out here anymore? Like, this is not a community that's even focusing on things that I'm interested in. And like I said, generational farming had me really excited. It's barely 6 months old, and there's already a different newborn, and you know, like, siblings get jealous. You know, older kids, they're not wrong, you know. The baby gets a lot of attention, and then the older siblings start to resent the baby. So for me, yeah, I wasn't doing enhanced realism. I had no interest in it. And if it hadn't detracted as it did from generational farming, maybe I would still be there. But to me, we got weeks and weeks and weeks of posts about revamp and ER, and that was all we were seeing. There weren't even any messages in generational farming. We frankly, eventually in a revamp got, hey, we're going to move you off in July. Then it became, hey, we're going to move you off at the end of July, which then again was like, okay, it broke the timeline. And to me, that's just the start of then things that don't happen. And that was really the straw that broke the camel's back for me to make the decision to just say, I'm done. I'm done being disappointed with, I'm part of something. I'm spending, I spent 10, 15 hours a week in generational farming. It's a lot of time. And I was just starting to feel like it was just a giant waste at that point with what I was seeing. And I'm like, why am I putting myself through this? Like, I can go do stuff that is more focused on what I want. I just want to run a farm, and I want to, do stuff like that. There's events here too. We'll see what they're like. We'll see if I even participate. Again, I'm pretty low maintenance. I'm not looking for a lot of stuff. And so I think what it was is a community that is just focused on giving you 1,000 different things to look at. And again, that's an exaggeration to some degree, but on the one hand, folks that have had any experience there, is it really? There's just so many little things getting tweaked and touched and this and that and whatever. Unless you're someone who is disjointed as that and wants all those things, that means 90-95% of what's happening is totally irrelevant to what you're there for. And so I was just looking for something that is a higher percentage aligned to what I'm here for. And so that's how we come full circle to where this conversation started of why I'm here and the pros and cons that I'm seeing just in the immediate space. Yeah, I've got fewer maps to be at, but just as we talked about with opportunity cost, I can only at any point in my life be on one map at a time. It's either going to be my single player map, it's going to be my multiplayer map, it's going to be whatever. So FSN having 100 maps doesn't matter because I can only be on one. And so the difference between 100 and potentially just 11, people who don't understand the concept of enough might feel there's a difference, but at some point, as long as one or two of those maps are of interest to me, and there's space on them for me when I'm ready to be an FM, I got everything I need. And that's what it comes down to. It was the same thing. I had my Hobo's Hollow map. It was interesting that we kept adding maps to FSN and whatever, and so yeah, there's a little bit of that hope, and so I think that's frankly what kept me there as long as I did, is like, yeah, there's a lot going on, so it's kind of like being in a big company, a big corporation, and I've worked in plenty of those, still work in one and so forth, and it's easy to get lost in the fact, wow, look at all these projects we're getting done, look at all whatever. But sometimes when you step back and really look at it, and at the end of the year you see like, well, what did we ultimately accomplish? Where did we fall short? And that's somewhat where I come at it as the mature simmer from that perspective. Is, to me, if FSN was a company, and at the end of the day, I get leadership says it's not, I call BS on it a bit. There's no way you run something that large and it doesn't take on the organizational structure and just the nature of a business. And at the end, there's donations coming in that they're helping with the folks in leadership to let them keep doing it and do it kind of as the thing they do in their life. Call it what you want, it's still it's still an income generating thing, which allows them to focus on it as much as they do. But then if you don't run it as a business, like that's the thing. If you had a company that had 50 products that they were working on at any one time and as customers, and once again, this was a point I raised at one point, the people on a multiplayer community, at the end of the day, you're still a customer to some degree, and you make your choices based on that. That's what I did with FSN. Like, I was not getting joy out of what was happening there. It was less and less joy and more frustration, and it got to the tipping point where I said it's time to leave. But if you have 50 products, none of which are finished, it's hard to feel like there's something there to get going. So what I'm hoping for and what I've seen, which is why I made the leap, I think there's a lot of stuff finished here. I think there's a lot of stuff in really good position for what I want, which is a farming simulator multiplayer experience. And again, I get there's going to be a lot of time that I'm going to be on a server by myself, not doing anything. Again, I'm on here with Ray. We're not sitting here chatting. Some of it might be simply because he knows, you know, I did ask him, hey, I'll be recording periodically, so maybe he's waiting if I have a question. But he's also, you know, again, I'm working for the guy. He's given me a job, plow the field. He knows I'm not done with it. He can look at the map and see where I'm at. So, in any event, so I'm real happy to be here and real excited to see how this plays out. I'm hoping folks will be as well. But what you're hearing in my kind of stream of consciousness, which I do in these videos, is I just operate, and people obviously choose to watch or don't. You're seeing a little bit of the conversation I had a couple days ago with folks. I'd be lying if I said there isn't some of me that still is like, did I make the right choice to go ahead and try this or not? You know, will I be begging to go back to FSN at some point? And I think, again, it's hanging on to that belief that it's the fear of missing out thing. You know, the FOMO is the big popular thing in the last few years for folks, and it's like, they've got this, they've got that. You know, again, there's a little bit of, oh yeah, I do enjoy precision farming, but maybe it's just the server that doesn't have it. So like I said, I'm trying to be open-minded about what I'm seeing, and in the end, it's like, I could do precision farming on my other endeavors. You know, the thing I certainly like about it in the multiplayer thing is it just helps where you don't have to do all the separate things, and you know, you've got all the material. But you know, I'm going to ask the question here, like, hey, is there precision farming and so forth, and I'll share with folks the answer, because as I said, I would think to some degree, I myself was trying to a little bit of frankly competitive research, other YouTubers out there, like, hey, is there something going on actively on this community in YouTube? I can't find it if it is. So if it is, the YouTube algorithm sucked at picking it up. So I didn't mention it in episode 1. I'll mention it now. So I did find it a little bit funny. I kind of figured it might be a problem, but I don't know if maybe the community people realize how big a problem it is. And it might be a problem with people finding my videos too, and maybe if there is stuff out there why I couldn't find it, although some things did pop up, so that they were all like a year old. So Argsy did some stuff on his channel. He did 3 episodes. That's the whole playlist, and he just got to this point. He was running a player contract, and then that episode did end with, you know, I'll be back, and then he moved on to something else. Obviously, that was a year ago. So, you know, again, people make their choices. You know, maybe he just decided, yeah, I'm not going to put the time in. I'd rather do this instead. So it's not that I didn't find any content, it's just the content I found was very sporadic. I think I found a total of 4 videos. So my hope is I have something unique to offer here to the YouTube space that watches Farming Simulator in having an active series that's going to have some longevity to it, because this is my focus for multiplayer. I'm not split. And not the generational farming and whatever, and my other farm was super split. It was all FSN, so like anybody wanted FSN stuff, they had it. But the thing that I forgot to mention in episode 1, and especially if you're not in the US, you know, you may not know this, but there's a dating service called Farmers Only as well. So even though I put Farmers Only Club, now I didn't put FS22 or whatever, I think on the first page, I think I had 2 videos that were really what I was looking for, and everything else was about farmers dating somebody, which is not what I'm looking for. So, you know, it might be worth making FOC stand for something else in the long term, because if you're searching for stuff, you tend to get that Farmers Only versus the Farmers Only Club for Farming Simulator. So I got a good giggle out of it. As I was typing it in, I was already thinking, like, I'm gonna get a bunch of videos, and frankly there were a couple. So you know, if you got someone with young kids who watches the channel and whatever, I'm gonna give you a public service announcement. Subscribe to my channel so you can bookmark it if your kids want to watch it, because I will tell you some of the Farmers Only videos that came up, even the thumbnails were not really kid appropriate. Let's just say that. So if you've got someone who's watching this and you want to keep it in the PG range instead of moving it into the R range, that's going to be the easiest thing. And then just teach your kids, hey, go over to subscriptions in YouTube and find the Mature Simmer channel, and then go watch the videos there. Don't search for this on Google or on YouTube, because you're going to get results you don't want to get. So so I'll leave it at that for those folks. But so I promise it's not a self-serving way to suddenly try to get the last 170 subscribers I need to hit 1,000. I really did get some pretty bad results that I was like, you know, I'm married, I got my wife, I don't need to see those kind of pictures on the internet. That's not what I'm looking for. So anyway, I think it doesn't take much imagination to understand what I'm talking about. So that's the way you can avoid it. Just subscribe to the channel, and I have the playlist already designed, and you can just look for stuff to appear in the playlist and go to the channel directly, and not search for things. And I would hope then, because you're not searching for that, you're going to then be less likely to have your YouTube feed start getting those things popping up. So I'm half worried that, yeah, as my wife and I sit down later to go watch some YouTube, in the next day or two, we usually pull some videos off, because we don't have live TV like we do everything with streaming. And so we get a lot of our news off the news clips that are posted on YouTube, if we're looking for stuff. But obviously YouTube throws recommended videos up there, so I'm just hoping some of those videos that did come up in the search aren't going to suddenly start showing up, and my wife's going to be like, what were you looking for, when they come up on my screen. So hopefully they won't, because I've only searched it once, and now I know what's out there in the Farmers Only Club FS22 YouTube video community, and I don't think it's anything. And so hopefully this will scratch an itch for some folks, and you'll find some interest here, because I intend to kind of, you know, cover things honestly. That's what I do on the channel. And like I said, the things, even as I started this episode, well, maybe that's a con. I don't know. I've almost talked myself out of, is it a con? Because I just need a map, and part of what I looked at to begin with when I saw Hobo's Hollow, I'm like, I could just move right back onto the map. I was an FSN, and honestly, when I looked, the 2 fields I have that I had in FSN, they're open. So I could literally set up my farm in the same place. The only difference would be some of the space where I had the cow barn and stuff, and then where I wanted to do the fields or the yard. 2 of those 3 spaces are taken by other FMs. They own them. So, there might be some discussion of folks like, hey, what are you using it for? And this was my thought. Any way, you'd be willing to sell it to me, just like you would with neighbors in a real thing. And so, to me, those interactions are what's exciting. Like, to me, that's something I can do, and it's not that I couldn't do that in FSN. Like, if someone had bought something that I wanted, I could have certainly asked them, like, hey, this is what I was going to do. I know you bought it, but do you have any possibility you'd be interested in selling it so I could put my yard there? And again, they could tell me to go pound rocks here too, just as they could, so there's no difference between the 2 communities in that. But to me, like, that's where I like my focus to be, is stuff that's actually helping my actual farm that I'm operating here. But I can't say honestly at this point, because of what was going on, that I'm going to miss, in essence, having split loyalties there, because I was running 2 things with generational farming and the main farm. And if generational farming had lived up to the hype, it would not have been a problem. But, for those that had asked me before, I was upfront with them. One of the really cool, the thing that was cool with generational farming to me was the things that were unique. One of the main things that were unique was the random events. We had 1 random event per generation, and maybe that was the plan, but that was not made clear in the material. It simply said there will be random events. So there were random events that showed up in the overall generational farming Discord channel. So in Generation 1, there were major storms that were coming that could have wiped out potentially crops and whatever. In Generation 2, something about a lot of heat, it could generate fire, so forth and so on. Both of those were nothing burgers. Now again, when it happened in the first generation, I asked the question of leadership, and I was basically told, well, that's part of the random number thing, whatever. Because we did get a notice at some point, oh, the storms blew by to the north and whatever. And I will tell you, that first event, the chatter it generated, the conversation that was going on amongst us all as FMs, I was like, this is wonderful. This is awesome. I'm loving this. This is exactly what the unique nature was. Like, we were all speculating. Like, I had grass. I'm thinking, great, even if we get hail, we get tornadoes, it's grass. Like, that survives stuff. Okay, the prairie is not destroyed when tornadoes went through. Watch the episode of Yellowstone or 1883 where they get attacked, where they have a tornado. The wagons, everything else got destroyed, but the grass is still waving right away as soon as the sun comes out. So I'm like, I'm going to have no problem with this, and I was somewhat excited, like, what's it going to do to my competitors? Like, hey, if it was real life, I'd be less giddy about, like, yeah, I want to see their crop wiped out. But hey, it's a competition, it's a game, and this is what we're here for. So, and then nothing happened, and I'm like, okay, and I accepted that at that point. It made sense. All right, fine. You didn't tell us. It's part of the intrigue. We prepare. And so I could buy into that. But then what the behavior did later is when the second event happened, because also there was this huge gap. We were there for 8 years on Generation 1, and then I think we were there for 3 years into Generation 2 before we got the notice of another event. And that event was, be careful about leaving hot equipment in your fields. So I'm assuming, I don't know any other way that they could do the mechanic of that, of going and checking the servers and seeing did someone leave a tractor parked in the middle of their field as they were fertilizing, and then that field would burn up and all the crop would be destroyed or something. That's what I was thinking was going to happen. But I don't know what anyone else was thinking was happening, because all that chatter that happened in the first generation didn't exist at all in the second generation. I would say it's partly because of how it was handled and what was done in the first generation. And also the fact, like, I was never under the impression that we're going to get one little random event in a decade in each generation. I wish my life operated that way in real life, that in my generation, in my lifetime, in 20 years, that I only had one random event occur to me that upended my life in some way. That would be lovely, but that's not what I was expecting. I was expecting, you know, sure, if a generation turned into the short end where it was 2 years, maybe we'd have no random event. If it was 4 or 5 years, maybe we'd have one. But we were there 8 years. We were now there going on 10 years when I finally threw in the towel. 2 random events, none of which anything occurred with. And no other events that then occurred. So in 20 years, that was it. So once again, the hope, the promise was there, and it was again not achieved. So like I said, I think there's grand plans. I think there's wonderful intent. It's just there's not follow through. The big projects was another one. Like, I loved the Suez concept, the Suez Canal, this, that, and whatever. The way it was structured, there ended up being a specific item that needed to be delivered. I think there were like 8 different things we had to get to port. So it was terrific. It was, again, a very unique opportunity in a farming simulator situation, and that those of us that were farming were able to do crops. So like there was potato chips was one of the things, and that's one I helped out with. So I did like 110 acres of potatoes. I hated that harvest. I think it took me like 25 hours of harvesting to harvest those potatoes, but I did it for the good of the community, because we were helping, we were doing whatever, and other people did as well and whatever. But there was some other product that ended up, like every other product had been 100% delivered for phase 1 of Suez, and we waited and we waited and we waited for months and months of real time for the other things to go through, and there wasn't ever a look at, gee, maybe we should tweak this, we like size things wrong. And so once again, I think the helium fizzled out of the balloon. You had everybody really excited, and then the opportunity came and went, because people are not going to stay engaged with something for months on end when nothing's happening that they think is going to happen. And then it was a really long time before the next phase came up, and frankly, I don't know how well it was even advertised. I was asking someone about it at one point, and they said, yeah, I think the second phase is coming up. And then if it was taking place, it wasn't as clearly shared, because there was a good amount of hype and a lot of stuff on that phase 1, and I jumped on board. I was excited, like, cool, this is something unique. This is why I'm here. This is what I want. And so I have heard there are like community events here that are just a little bit more realistic in scope, and therefore they get executed entirely, and it works. So so once again, I'll share if that happens when it happens, and for those who, again, are trying to look for some feedback, in essence, ongoing review of things so that you can make a decision if this is something you want to look into and join, you know, I'll share that part of it. But, you know, in the interim, I've got, you know, maps to take a look at and explore as I do player contracts. So right now, like, Westby was something we were potentially going to do in generational farming. I was stoked for that. I had looked at that map. I had done a map review of that map on my channel. I thought it was an excellent map, and I had never played it. I was so excited that we were going there, and then it got yanked out from us because it was felt, because of the way the fields are, it would have been too difficult. Again, I accepted that, so forth. Northwest Mecklenburg was enjoyable as well, but I, now having played that in generational farming, and spent a few hours, a couple hours is what I got paid for, on Westby, like even that little bit, again, because it's got some terrain, it's got some rolling hills. Maybe I'll end up in Westby here. I don't know. Maybe I won't do Hobo's Hollow. Maybe I'll take that opportunity because I hung around. Because the challenge with Hobo's Hollow, as I've shared, is it does have terrain that I like, but it's basically because it's a hollow, and which is another word for a valley in the U.S. It is kind of flat in the center. So if you want terrain that forces you to the edge of the map, where Westby's more, it's just rolling hill country in Wisconsin. And so again, I'm not looking for mountains. You know, I don't want to be farming in Erlengrot or whatever it was that has all kinds, you know, that's not what I'm looking for, is alpine farming. I'm just looking for nice rolling terrain that has something to it. Where to me this is too empty of a map. It has rolling terrain, but then there's nothing that changes field sizes. It's all just a bunch of squares and rectangles. So of the three that I know are here and I've experienced either here or other places, this map is the bottom of my list. So don't expect me to have a farm here. But the cool thing is here, you know, which again I think does make up for the fact that there's less servers, because of all the ability to do the automatic equipment transfers and just do it yourself in Discord and so forth. My understanding is the way people farm in that case here is, you know, they'll own fields on other servers because we're allowed to do that. You just aren't an FM on that server, but you can own fields everywhere. It's just a money thing, and people just transfer their equipment. They do a vehicle transfer over and, you know, move their harvester over when it's harvest time. So, you know, one of the other things I had shared in the first episode, and we're seeing it here, when I was on the server with Westby in episode 1, we were in October, I think. This is the same day. This server's in April. So that again gives you that flexibility that, hey, I want to do something every day. If you pick your fields appropriately, it's fall in Westby. It's now early spring, you know, and it's kind of getting to late fall, or I guess it's middle fall, and I guess it's middle spring. So these are literally 6 months apart, I guess. But it's like, yeah, I can be harvesting over there, and I can be planting over here if I was doing that. So to me, there's just different possibilities here. Not necessarily better or worse. You know, for me personally, and again, you know, people would have to assess for them if that's like something that inspires them, gets them excited or not, or is just like, you know, hey, I want something else. And again, that's why there's different communities that exist for different people. Like, again, I'm sure the people that are on the enhanced realism servers in FSN are tickled pink about them. And I'm sure they're wonderful if that's what you want to do, but to me there was more than enough realism in FSN already. And I've done things with enhanced realism, but I've done them in single player. I've not done them on the channel, but I have done it, so I know what that involves, and I know I don't enjoy it. So for me, that had no interest, and like I said, because it sucked the oxygen out of the room with everything else that was going on on the farming side, because when you get down to it at this point, FSN is kind of like the adopted child over there at this point. They're like part of the family, but they really don't get a lot of attention because they're not the biological child like Entrepreneurs is. And so there's not a lot of focus on the farming over there anymore, and that was ultimately where I was like, I need farming focus. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here for anything else. So I'm not going to dispute there's activity. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of stuff. There's posts every day, every other day about all the stuff that was looked at and worked on. Just none of it was anything that I cared about. So it's like, okay, another day went by where nothing I was interested in was even looked at or even talked about. And there's things I'm waiting for, like auctions to come back and whatever, and none of those things are happening because we're worried about moving people onto enhanced realism servers 6 months after we had started this massive generational farming thing. And I think generational farming could have been huge if that had been the shiny object that we stayed with instead of introducing more shiny objects. But I think once again it's dying a slow death because of lack of oxygen. It doesn't have the attention it needs to make it what it can be. I think it could have been an awesome concept, but it wasn't the way it came out and the way it was executed. So that is why I gave up, and that is why I am here. And at this point, someone might look at this and be like, all you've been doing this whole time is plowing this square. You're right. But this is what Farming Simulator is. And this is what I'm doing, is I'm playing Farming Simulator. I'm not in a playpen with a lot of other things that don't really have any impact to Farming Simulator other than in my pretend imagination. So, you know, and all the stuff that is here has an impact. Everything I do with a Discord command impacts my gameplay in here. So right now, I'm kind of in love with it. I think it's really cool. Again, maybe it's like, you know, the first date, you know, it's like first love. I'm very excited, and maybe it'll become less exciting. But the cool thing is, I've learned, just like in my real life when I got divorced and, you know, now remarried, I've shared that on the channel before. You know, I learned things by going through that and having a marriage that didn't work that well. Like, this is what I need to avoid. This is what I need to stay away from. And if I saw those red flags here, I wouldn't have come here. I like the fact that it's 100% Farming Simulator focused, because that lets things happen like what I shared with, of simply, hey, can I record YouTube videos on your platform? You guys okay with that? And having an answer in less than an hour, instead of waiting through a 72-hour cycle to get told it's moving to a department, to then get told it's moving to another department, to ultimately eventually get an answer for something that, if the focus was 100% Farming Simulator and nothing else, I contend an answer would have happened faster. So I'm loving what I'm seeing here because, and I think part of that, frankly, is also a smaller community. You know, there's probably less requests for things, but just the way things are implemented, because even though it's a questions channel, they've done stuff, and I assume they're just normal Discord things you can do. Like, they show up differently. They're not just this long Discord chat. It's not just a channel. Like, there's, like, when I put in my thing, it showed up, I don't know how else to describe it, in a bubble. And then my answers show up in the bubble when I expand the bubble, but I can see a lot of the different bubbles. So think of it as like topics, like if it was a web forum. You know, I can see the topic, like I'm in a bunch of financial forums with my financial coaching and stuff that I do. And so someone will have, you know, let's talk about electric cars. And so you see the topic, and then you can see there's 1,000 posts about it, because this conversation we've been having on that forum for a year and a half. So there's a lot of stuff to look at there, but it's not all just this giant stream of interspersed questions and all the responses, and then you're like trying to figure out what's going on. I'm not a Discord expert. I didn't know you could do that in Discord. I am a Discord customer at this point in Farmers Only Club, and I love how they've implemented it, because it makes it super easy to consume. So, and again, were they able to do that because they didn't have a million things to focus on? I'm going to contend probably, because it allowed them to say, you know what, we could make this better, and we have time to make this better, because we're not trying to make 100 things better. So, and I do promise over time, it's just kind of the nature of, you know, it is a little bit like, you know, like I said, the people joked with me a couple days ago, dude, it's not like you're getting divorced. It's just, you know, it's your multiplayer community. Like, it's okay. If you feel you should leave, leave. Like, don't feel like, it's going to impact your life that much. And, but I spent over 2 years of my life over there. There's a bit of investment. So yeah, there's a bit of that, you know, cycles of grief, of like, it's a change. And so I'm working through that live and in front of you. But over time, just as you work through the grief cycle, the videos are going to become all about FOC, and I think this video probably ended up being 75% of the chatter was about FSN, which is not what technically this video is about. But you know what's happening here from the FOC standpoint. I'm working this player contract, and there's not much I need to discuss. So it gives an opportunity for those who want to hear, and those who want to understand, to hear. But you know, and those who aren't even hearing me talk about it because they've skipped over it or stopped watching the video or whatever. And that's the glory of YouTube, because at the end of the day, whether I want to acknowledge it or not, but I do acknowledge it. So I'm not going to play the game of viewers on YouTube are not my customers. You're absolutely my customers. And so if you're not getting what you want, you go somewhere else. And again, I always encourage people, make comments. If it's too much moaning, which I will readily admit, there was a lot of what this turned into, but I'm kind of sharing what it is, because I think that's how people get to know me, and kind of, you know, we get the personality in the channel a little bit, at least in this topic. But my intent is not, you know, that's not my nature, to just fester and go over things that happened 20 years ago, over and over and over, and complain about how I was wronged. Like, it's relevant to the discussion of what's going on here, because a big part of my mental energy in FOC right now is compare and contrast. Oh, I see this is different. Oh, this is how it's making me feel. And I don't know how long that's going to go on. I'm certainly going to have more mental space to do that as a contractor now, because I don't have to sit here and worry about a farm. I don't have to look at, hey, I'm $50,000 away from being able to afford a tractor. I can't buy anything right now, and I've got over 2 weeks of my life that I won't be able to do that. So you're going to have opportunities to see episode upon episode of where I'm just doing contract stuff. But I'm also trying to avoid simply giving you what in essence turn out to be glorified YouTube shorts where, hey, I'm here, I'm doing this contract, this player contract, and I'm going to do it for the next 4 hours because that's how long it's going to take to finish this job. That's it, I'm done. See you later, see you next time. I don't know that those are exciting videos for folks either. So I'm hoping just being able to chat and share with you what's on my heart with this strikes a chord with some of you, and drop a note in the comments and let me know if it does or not. And you know, I expect I'm gonna get folks who are just like, you know, dude, it's about the game. All you're doing is talking about the community and what didn't work and this and that. But that's part of why I'm here right now. Is I left somewhere that was a community like this that I loved, and just like anything else, I'm hoping this doesn't turn into that, but I'm just telling you right now, I don't see anything that makes me think it will. You know, so it becomes the, you know, continuing the divorce analogy. You know, all of us are in that situation where we're always like, oh, you know, wow, if only I had found, you know, my second wife first, how much happier I'd be. I don't know, maybe that would be the situation here. But the flip side of it is, as anything I've learned of going through divorce, part of why I appreciate my second wife so much is because of the experience and the disappointment I had with the first one. So, you know, FSN served that for me in this regard, and so that's where the sharing is happening. So, I'm getting close here to the end. At this point, it almost seems like I might as well hang around and see if he's got another job for me, and at least let you know what that'll be. But I will definitely then wrap things up, so we're gonna have to run this up a couple times. I don't think he left. I didn't see anything show up. I'm just guessing because it's such a gargantuan map. I'm assuming he's off working on some other field doing something else. Maybe he's applying fertilizer all over the map. So maybe it'll simply be take the plow over to this field and do the same thing. But at this point, because I think, yeah, I'll definitely be done with one more pass. So at this point, I'm going to drag you along with me, and we'll get to the end. Because honestly, if you've watched this long, like you can handle 2 more passes of this field. Let's be honest. But as I've shared with folks, when I have these long videos, which I tend to do when I'm in new locations, because it's usually I'm sharing with you, hey, what's new and what I'm thinking. And I'm certainly sharing what I'm thinking, but because as a contractor here, I don't have a lot to do other than work. That's all there is. But my stance has always been, like, I'm doing the work anyway. I'll record it, and whoever wants to watch it can watch it all in its entirety, and whoever wants to start at the beginning and skip to the end is going to do that anyway. So you're able to consume it the way you want, because again, you're my customers, and I'm giving you content, you know, in ways, you know, and YouTube's helping with that, obviously, and you know, you're able to jump around, you're able to do whatever, so everyone can consume it the way they want and give me whatever comments and commentary they want, and I will do my best to respond in kind. You know, again, if you lay into me about something, I may just say thanks for the response and be polite and leave it at that, and, you know, kind of we agree to disagree maybe, but if there's anything that I've shared with the viewers who are here, and again, I thank the 800 plus subscribers I've got, you're going to get authenticity from me. I'm not going to pretend I'm something I'm not. I'm not going to hide when I'm disappointed, and that's right now, unfortunately, what, you know, if you didn't like it, that's unfortunately what a lot of I had to cover here, because that's what's top of mind for me, is I'm just I'm processing that disappointment, and it's fresh in my mind, because I literally, you know, I walked out on FSN just last night. You know, last night we were kind of happily married, and now we're not, and it takes a little while to get over things. So you got to hear that. You know, think of us as, you know, maybe we're sitting at our kitchen table with a couple beers, or sitting in a bar, and I'm just you're an ear to talk to, and I'm just sharing. So thanks for being a friend and listening, because sometimes you just need people to listen. And hopefully it wasn't too weird of an analogy, but, you know, thinking about farming simulator communities as your wives, but that's what I gave you, so hopefully somebody enjoyed it. Alright. So, other than probably having to move around some trees here, I'm happy I got this done. This is part of why I do it, because yakking on and on actually passes the time faster for me. If I was just sitting here moving up and down the field, you know, it'd be the same thing as if I just gave you a video of me moving up and down the field and didn't say anything. It'd be pretty boring. But because you just never know what I'm going to say next, I'm hoping people just stick around. Like, what is this goofball going to cover next time? Like, man, he's all over the place. I would like to think that's part of my charm. But once again, I need comments from people. Is it part of my charm, or is it just annoying? And I don't know. I can't say. I mean, again, I'll be honest. I can't say I'd be okay either way. If people tell you you're annoying, it's kind of hard to be like, yeah, cool, I knew that. But you know what I mean. I mean, I've got my big boy pants. You know, I'm the mature simmer. I've been wearing big boy pants for a long time. If you tell me I'm annoying, I'll be okay. I might go cry for a little while, but I'll be okay, you know, eventually. And again, we'll probably never meet in person, so like you'll not see me cry, and I won't have any hard feelings because I don't know you either. But anyway, sometimes, once again, when I've been chatting for a long time, I kind of go off on this like crazy. I just get, you know, all the crazy comes out. So, welcome. Yeah, I mean, I can't say these aren't like vast fields. I mean, you know, there's something to be said. While I say I don't enjoy like the rectangles and whatever, I mean, it doesn't require a lot of thought to work a field like this. That's for sure. Yeah, I was worried I was getting too close to the edge, but didn't leave any plants standing, so I think I'm okay. But these trees are scaring me. They're bigger. They're bigger than the others. Look, there's just that one big one over here, but here they're like ganging up on me. Like, it's just intimidating. It's like you're suddenly walking into a dark alley and you get confronted by 4 or 5 pine trees. Is there some little tree literally right at the edge? Okay, whoever came up with this, again, it probably was just they plowed the field and they didn't clear the tree, but geez. So it's probably not because I was like, whoever came up with that map design, it's terrible, but it probably was just a field of trees and it just didn't get cleared, but goodness. So, for Rage-In, man, all it's doing is you're paying me more to try to get around trees. Like, cut these trees down. I know we're not supposed to cut a lot, but I think you'd get permission to cut those down. They're like way too close to the edge of the field. Because I'm trying to get the field. I'm trying to be thorough. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe his advice to me would be like, dude, leave some of the plants on the field. It's okay. Like it's a 50-acre field or whatever it is. If I have 4 things you didn't plow, that's all right. But again, that's partially too what, you know, you gotta be honest. I mean, I get to meet a bunch of new people, although I think there's a lot of other people like me who are on FSN who've come over here too, so I know I've seen names that I know and recognize. And right now, I think I know which server I'm going to end up on, and most of that server is former FSN people. So, and I'm not going there because of that. I'm going there. I would go there because of the map. There's just the added bonus of like it's like getting together with like old friends. Like awesome. So, and I know they're active because they were active in FSN, and I enjoyed playing with them because they'd be on and we'd chat. And again, I miss that. That's something that there's just not been a lot going on in FSN. We had people there. They got chased out, and you know, we suddenly lost people off our server because of disagreements with FSN stuff. So Hopefully that won't happen. Oh, the truck is gone, so we're down to just 2 things. So maybe he'll have me use one of these to do something. I don't know, but I will let him know. So I am not going to bore you with watching me type and wait for responses. I will simply let you know what's happening next. So, see you in a bit. Alright, so holy crap. This is an olive grove. I've played a little bit with grapes and olives. You'll have seen it on my VIP series. But, like, this is an operation. Like, holy crap, this is an operation. So, Ray did let me know in Discord, so that's why I didn't see anything. But when I hopped out, just because I was going to go to Discord and say, hey, you're not responding in the game, I guess maybe you stepped away. Anything else? He had left me some notes. So he said if I finish, leave the tractor to the south of the field, which I did. I put it with all the other stuff. And that if I was looking for more work, I could fertilize the olives, and that it was over here. But I will say, they're way more sophisticated with the GPS than I am. So everybody's got these saved things. Was it olives? 23 F4, I think it was. It's F46 sprayer. So there we go. So I assume, let's see. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Auto width. I don't normally do it inside here. Do I want an offset? I don't know that I want an offset. I'm confused. So is it here? Like, I don't see a line, and I'm turning it on. Do I have to set a line? Maybe I have to set the line. So let's see. Yeah, because it's doing that, so maybe I just need to set the line. Whoops, I need to go further. I'm probably totally wasting time. I am not an olive expert by any stretch. So you know what? Let me see. Fertilized. Alright, so I'm guessing it needs all of its second fertilization. So I'm going to go down to the end here, and I'm going to turn around. And then we'll continue, and we'll see what we do. But hey, if I can make some cash... Now, the one thing I don't know what I'm going to get paid. I don't know, like, maybe I'm working for really bargain basement wages here. I don't know, but it's the only work I've been given, so beggars can't be choosers, right? So yeah, this guy's got stuff. Now, I get he said he thought he was messy, but he just has stuff. That's okay. Like, when you're running an empire like this, I'd say that's okay. So yes, you've got me in slap happy mature simmer mode. So hopefully that'll be good. Let's see. Ooh, look at that. Feels like the wildfire smoke that I've got in my neck of the woods here in the US. Thank you, Canada, but I am sure they'd rather not have Canada burning as well, so I know they're doing everything they can to stop it, but no. So yeah, I guess you need to go up and down every row, but now, like, well, now I can't see because there's so much stuff. But I don't even know how long this could take. I mean, I guess I could figure it out, like with the acres and I guess the working with, because yeah, what does the working with show up as? 13.12 feet. So I'm assuming this will work since he told me to set this. I probably have to turn it off. Somehow I think something's off. Because it should, I would think, the whole point of setting that line would be that it would be the right width, but this again is my stupidity with stuff. So if I go here, no, it doesn't change that. Because my thing was, if I pick something, will it adjust? Because that's just editing, turning, I think. Or maybe not. So my confusion here is, I thought maybe like when you loaded it, it would do what it needed, but clearly I don't understand something. So, I mean, the only thing I can think of is like, no, because it's definitely doing something it wasn't doing before. Like, it's clearly filling in a row. Because I don't think, like, I would be running like down a row of olives if I did what I was doing and didn't move it. But to me, I'm just not sure why even bother saving the track if it doesn't save the width in a way that works or something, because I basically have to just keep moving it. But yeah, 9 miles an hour is not terribly slow. So I am going to be doing this. I am not going to drag you along with me any further. I'm probably looking at another hour-and-a-half episode. I frankly was surprised that the first one was that long. But you know, when I'm going on and sharing, it just goes. So that's what happened. This may be that long or longer now. So but I'm going to keep doing this, and in the end, I'm obviously going to get it done for him, or go a ways at least. Ooh, turn it off. I'm stuck. Can't take me anywhere. It's kind of the nature of my life. So I just want to make sure I'm not wasting stuff for them. It's just hard to tell, because right now I've got like too much. I don't know if the whole field is olives. I think it might be. I can't even imagine the throughput on this. But, wow. Yeah, people have operations here, I will tell you. Like, these are way bigger than anything I would do. So, I may be the little pipsqueak here in FOC is what I may find. Because I have yet to see... Now, I will say, let me go back here before I leave you. So, yes, now... So I'm going to stop for a second, because I just want to take a quick peek. So there's a pink. Oh, wait, can they work together? Why are they both orange? I don't understand that. I'll have to ask the person I know about that. Because it's like, yeah, why are there two farms that are the same color? So the confusion I had, so there's a yellow farm. I'm still confused though. So there's a pink farm, a yellow farm, and then two orange farms. But obviously the orange farms are going to look the same. So I'm guessing these are the pink. I just don't understand what these kind of orange things are. Or these, like, one type of orange, another type of orange. So, but anyway, like, I'm thinking, like, literally this guy owns all this stuff, because this is the field we were on, right? Or wait. Yeah? No, okay, we're on that one up there. So yeah, this color, like, that's all this stuff, and, I mean, it's a little different than this, but there's only two oranges, so, anyway, let me go back here, and now I want to see, am I drawing a line? I think I am. See, because to me, what I'm wondering, I'm going to try something. So I guess I'll keep you around for a little bit longer, because I'm a liar. I wonder if I can go every other row, because I'm basically like spraying the olives. Oop, wrong key. I'm spraying the olives on both sides. Like this is big enough, so in theory I'm hitting 2 rows at a time, so I can skip a row, I think. No? I can't? How is that not? Really? I can't? Alright. I can't, I guess. Yeah. Alright. See, because the way it's spraying, I thought it was spraying both sets of trees, but it doesn't give me credit for that. Wow. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm overspraying, like, and because we don't have precision farming, and I don't know that precision farming works with, like, olive sprayers and grape sprayers and stuff. Like, if there would be anything there, but... So... But in any event, I'm going to get this done now, as I'm trying to learn this. But I can't even imagine the amount of product that comes off of here. I mean, this is a setup. Let's just be honest. Like, this is big. I've not seen anything this big in FSN. Now, again, maybe there's people. I mean, I know there's folks like you know, there's certain people over there that run really big operations with thousands of acres, but they're like across a bunch of different servers, and I don't know. This is big, so to me this is one of those. Maybe I'll just be a contractor forever for a while. I don't know, and then I just won't have the headache of running my own farm. I feel like I'm gonna make everyone so sad here. Like, dude, the guy's, you know, he's farming 30 acres or something. I mean, I probably will do more than that, but not much. Wow. Yeah, and at this point, now that I'm starting over, I don't know that I'm gonna like jump back into cows again and whatever. But again, I guess I'd have to see what stuff we have here. Because the cows did, frankly, turn into a lot more work of feeding than I expected. So I'm not going to lie with that. It was a bit. You know what? I think I'm going to, because it's just easier, I think I am going to skip rows, though. And I'm just going to go ahead. So, for those of you who probably are laughing at me, is there a way to do these track? Oh, this is not obviously locking on. Welcome to the GPS not working again. Like, I don't understand why I have to move the track if I'm using a saved track. I mean, if he comes on before I'm done, I'll ask and I'll try to get educated. But I don't understand, because to me, it's not working the way I would expect it to with using a saved track. I thought that meant that that the rows are set, and it's just there. Because again, obviously, especially the way I'm seeing this thing, like, even though it says the working width is 13 meters, obviously it's a lie. So what I'm wondering, you know what, I'm gonna wonder on my own, because I'm chewing up so much of your life. Again, if you're here, sorry. If you're not, then I'm not chewing up any of your life. But I'm just going to change the width to something that fits in the rows, and then that might be it, because it's saying it's 13 meters wide, but clearly the thing is not giving me credit for that. So I'm going to play with this. I'll figure it out, and I'll do work, and I'll get paid for it. But we'll see how it goes. So I did get payment for the work this morning. 12,000 is what I got sent. So yay. So I'm up to 38,000. But you know, I think there's some caps on how much we can have and so forth. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna have to look that up. I reread it. Someone told me that there was a cap of like 750,000, but I think that's like land and so forth, but I don't think there's a cap to the amount of money you can have. Because again, if I just have a bunch of land but I don't have any equipment, I can stare at my land, but that's not really how Farming Simulator works. So I may be a contractor for a while, but the thing is, obviously a little bit higher contract rates here, because it's worth it to them. And obviously in the economy and the way it works out, because if they used some AI helpers, which you can use in FOC, I assume you can just use one. I have to probably look that up. I don't know that I recall reading anything about AI help, so I was a little surprised to hear you could do that. But they're just paying a little bit more than it would cost them with an AI helper anyway, so to get the work done, that's what people need to do. But I may make a lot of money pretty quickly is what I'm saying, because 38,000 is not too bad in a morning of work. Well, I guess that included work that I didn't film for you. Never mind. So I only got 12,000 so far, plus whatever I'm going to earn here. I'm going to shut up now. I will see you next time.